I was picking up my granddaughter from school, and the moment she got into the car, I knew something wasn't right. Not because she looked upset, not because she looked angry, but because she looked empty, like someone had quietly turned the lights off inside her without asking permission. She's 15, an age where emotions usually spill out loudly, but this was different. Heavier, flatter, harder to name. I asked her how her day was, and she shrugged in a way that felt rehearsed, like she'd been doing it all day. I asked if something had happened, and she said no. And then we drove in silence, the kind of silence that stretches, presses on your chest, and makes you afraid that if you speak, you might break something fragile. After a while, without looking at me, she said something that hasn't left my mind since. She said, "Grandpa, does it ever feel like nothing you do actually matters? I'm 87 years old. I've lived through wars, recessions, family tragedies, and personal failures I wouldn't wish on anyone. But that question, coming from a 15-year-old, shook me in a way I wasn't prepared for. Not because it was new, but because it was familiar. I've asked myself that same question more times than I can count, usually late at night, usually when no one was around to hear it. The difference between her and me is simple, but painful. She's standing at the very beginning of her life, looking forward with uncertainty. I'm near the end of mine, looking backward with a kind of clarity that came too late. And somewhere between those two perspectives, between hope and regret, I think I finally understand something important, something I wish someone had explained to me when I was younger, when I still believed that meaning had to be loud to be real. We live in a world obsessed with impact. Everyone wants to matter in a visible way, to leave a mark, to be remembered, to feel significant. People chase careers they believe will prove their worth. They share their lives online, hoping someone notices. They measure themselves by attention, applause, and recognition. I understand that hunger because I chased it too. For a long time, I believed that if I wasn't doing something big, something impressive, something that could be pointed to, then I was somehow failing at life. But here's what nearly 9 decades have quietly taught me. The things that truly matter almost never feel important while they're happening. They don't announce themselves. They don't arrive with applause. They don't look meaningful in the moment. Most of the time, they look ordinary, routine, easy to dismiss, and you only understand their weight years later, when you trace your life backward and realize many of the moments that shaped you the most were the ones you barely noticed at the time. Let me tell you about my neighbor, Margaret, because her life quietly dismantled everything I thought I knew about mattering. Margaret lived 3 houses down from us for 42 years, in the same modest home, with the same creaking front steps and the same light on in the kitchen every night. She was a school teacher, 3rd grade, at the same elementary school her entire career. She never married, never had children of her own, and never spoke much about herself, which made it easy, if I'm being honest, to underestimate her. When Margaret retired, there was a small gathering in the school gymnasium, maybe 30 people, folding chairs set up in uneven rows, a microphone that squeaked every time someone touched it. There were no cameras, no long speeches, no sense that anything important was happening. She was given a plaque, a bouquet of flowers, and a polite round of applause. I remember thinking at the time that it all felt a little small, a little sad even. 40 plus years of work reduced to a short afternoon and a handshake. 2 years later, Margaret passed away quietly in her sleep, and when I heard the news, I expected her funeral to look much the same. I was wrong. The church was full, not just full, but overflowing. People stood along the walls, crowded into the back, and spilled out into the hallway. One by one, they stood up to speak. A doctor talked about how Margaret was the first person who ever made him feel smart. A woman who ran a nonprofit said Margaret taught her to read when everyone else had given up. A man in his 50s brought his own daughter to the podium and said he became a teacher because of her. Story after story, lives changed, paths redirected, confidence planted where doubt once lived, all because of a woman who thought she was just doing her job. Margaret never tried to change the world. She never chased recognition, never built a legacy, never asked to be remembered. She showed up day after day and paid attention to the children in front of her. She learned their names, noticed when they struggled, stayed late to explain fractions or spelling words when she didn't have to. Nothing glamorous, nothing headline-worthy, and yet, decades later, the ripples of her life were still spreading through people she would never meet. That was the moment something finally clicked for me. Maybe mattering isn't about being seen by crowds. Maybe it's about being deeply seen by a few. For a long time, I thought stories like Margaret's were rare, nice, but exceptional, until life forced me to notice how often meaning hides inside ordinary moments. When I was 39, I went through one of the darkest stretches of my life. My business was struggling, money was always tight, and the pressure of trying to look successful while feeling like a failure slowly wore me down. I was drinking more than I should have been, sleeping less than I needed, and telling myself I had everything under control, even though I didn't believe it anymore. One evening, I was sitting alone in my car outside a bar, gripping the steering wheel and arguing with myself about whether I should go in. It felt like a small decision, almost insignificant. Just one drink, just one night. But something about that moment felt heavy, like a fork in the road I didn't want to admit was there. That's when a man named Tom knocked on my window. I barely knew him. We'd met maybe twice before, exchanged a few polite words, nothing more. He didn't look concerned or dramatic. He just smiled and said he was heading to get coffee and asked if I wanted to join him. That was it. No lecture, no questions, no attempt to fix me. We sat in a diner for a couple of hours, drinking coffee that tasted like burnt water and talking about completely ordinary things. His kids, a book he was reading, a trip he'd taken years earlier. He didn't ask me what was wrong, and I didn't volunteer it. But somewhere in the middle of that unremarkable conversation, something inside me loosened, settled. When we left, I didn't drive to the bar. I went home instead. I can't remember everything we talked about that night. I doubt Tom remembers it at all. But that moment mattered. It changed the direction of my evening. Maybe more than that. And that's the thing about mattering that no one tells you. It almost never announces itself. You don't get a signal. You don't get credit. You won't even know it happened. Most of the time, you'll do something that feels small to you, and it will mean everything to someone else, and you'll move on, assuming it didn't amount to much, while it quietly reshapes a life you may never fully see. That realization humbled me, and it scared me, because it meant that meaning wasn't something I could schedule or control. It was something that happened when I showed up, whether I felt ready or not. As I've grown older, I've started to see how much of what we chase is smoke. Status fades, achievements blur together, and recognition disappears faster than anyone wants to admit. People forget what you accomplished, forget the titles you held, forget how busy or impressive you once looked, but they don't forget how you made them feel. They don't forget that you showed up when they were struggling, that you noticed them when they felt invisible, or that you listened when no one else seemed to have the time. My wife, Eleanor, understood this long before I did. She wrote letters, real ones, with stamps and careful handwriting, to our kids when they were away at college, to old friends she hadn't seen in years, to neighbors who were going through difficult seasons. I used to tease her about it. I'd tell her everyone had phones now, that letters were unnecessary. She'd smile, keep writing, and say nothing. After she passed, I found boxes of replies people had sent back to her, and in almost every one, someone mentioned how much her letters had meant, how they'd reread them during hard moments, how they'd kept them for years. She wasn't trying to matter. She was simply reaching out. And that made all the difference. I wish someone had told me this when I was younger. Your life doesn't need to be extraordinary to matter. In fact, the pressure to be exceptional often does more harm than good. It convinces people that their ordinary efforts aren't enough, that showing up for family, doing honest work, or being kind to strangers somehow doesn't count unless it looks impressive from the outside. But the truth is, almost everything that holds our world together is built on quiet, unremarkable acts done consistently by people who will never be remembered. I think about my granddaughter's question often. Does anything I do actually matter? And I've realized the question itself misses the point. Mattering isn't loud. It isn't measurable. It's knowing that your presence or your absence would make a real difference to someone standing right in front of you. It's choosing patience over anger, honesty over convenience, kindness when no one is watching. I'm 87 now, and I don't have many years left. When I think about what I want my life to have meant, I don't think about recognition or applause. I think about the people I loved well, the moments I was fully present, and the times I showed up without needing credit. That's where real significance lives, not in the spotlight, but in the steady, quiet work of being human with other humans.